After a fairly uneventful couple of flights, punctuated by a chaotic immigration procedure at Mumbai airport, Sue and I found ourselves in the heart of Calcutta, meeting up with our fellow Explore travellers who had arrived from around the globe for the holiday. The plan was that we would spend the next 2 weeks travelling, mainly by train, from Calcutta in the east to the Pakistani border in the west, via Bodh Gaya, Varanasi, Agra, Delhi, Shimla and finally Amritsar. However, we had not taken into account the vagaries of the Indian railway system and, more worryingly, some serious political upheavals that were developing in the West. But more of this later. Our group leader was Abhi Chorda, who, as events unfolded, proved to be a superb organiser, given the unpredictable situation as it unfolded. But all of this was in the future. The first job was to get to know each other and for Abhi to give us a quick orientation trip in the streets around our hotel before we met with a local guide after lunch. After lunch we met our local guide and boarded the bus to see some of the highlights of Kolkata. First stop was the memorial to the notorious Black Hole tragedy, which was one of the darkest moments in the history of the Raj. Here, over 100 British inhabitants were imprisoned in a small airless cell, of whom only 23 survived until the next morning. The rest had died of asphyxiation and thirst. The exact site of the cell is disputed, and this memorial is very close to the nearby St John's Church, which has strong associations with the British East India Company.
46 people maximum can be accommodated in that room, and some people died. We don't know how much people died over there, because the list which were provided by Holwell, the names are written over there, many of them died before 1756 and many of them were alive after 1756. So that was an exaggerated story, but many people died. That's the truth.
This fine church was based upon London's St Martin's in the Fields. They wanted to make the spire even higher than its London counterpart. However, soggy soil prevented a high spire. Our first impression is that India is not for the faint-hearted, with great poverty, beauty and utter chaos at every turn. A short ride away brought us to the area of the Kali temple, which was very poor and impoverished. We received quite a few hostile looks from the locals, who made it quite clear that we were not welcome. So it was cameras away and a whistle-stop tour of the temple. Here goats are still sacrificed every day, and the pilgrims follow very strict rules. In complete contrast to the Kali temple, we went on to the Victoria Memorial, which is Calcutta's most celebrated landmark. The whole area was heaving with Indian tourists, and we quickly noticed that there were very few other Westerners visiting. The dome classical structure was completed in 1921 and was constructed in marble similar to that used for the Taj Mahal. As we were visiting on a Sunday, it was filled with tourists and locals alike, enjoying the warm afternoon. We joined the queues to see the 25 galleries inside, which include over 10,000 artifacts representing various aspects of the Raj, with a fine collection of paintings and records of the British East India Company. Back outside, it was time for photographs, and surprisingly we were asked to pose with several families who were quite tickled by our Western looks. with Caroline and Claire being particularly popular. Last stop of the day was St Paul's Cathedral, another impressive building with a very wide interior roof. "9:30 next day, and we have braved the chaotic traffic to visit Mother Teresa's house. The house is a sea of tranquility amid the nearby traffic noise. The nuns still continue the fantastic work started here by Mother Teresa after she had witnessed famine in 1943 and the effects of poverty after partition in 1947. She formed the missionary in 1950 and spent the rest of her life dedicated to the poor. The present-day nuns who shun being photographed still carry on the simple lifestyle dedicated to the millions of poor and needy. We spent half an hour or so looking around the many tributes to her work and also her modest room. Another hectic ride across the city, and we went on to the Jain Temple, a magnificent building dedicated to this very select sect. Abby, our guide, was born into a Jaini family but does not practice their strict rules, although he is a vegetarian. Jainism is yet another religious sect which was founded in the 6th century BC. It is based upon the doctrine of no violence to all living things, and the more orthodox even cover their mouths to avoid swallowing insects. It was yet another tranquil place within the chaos of Calcutta. Yet another mad drive across town, and we have arrived at Kumartili, or the Potter's Quarter as it is known. The area is a maze of streets and alleys where highly skilled potters create models of various Hindu gods and goddesses which are used in the numerous religious festivals throughout the year. The methods using straw and clay have been passed down from generation to generation. And we're off on our last stop, which is the flower market near the giant Howrath Bridge. The whole area is a riot of colour, noise and the pungent smell of both fresh and decaying flowers. Built in 1943 to replace an old pontoon bridge, the Howrah Bridge is the third longest cantilever bridge in the world and links the cities of Kolkata and Howrah over the massive Howrah River. Many thousands of people use it every day, crossing on foot like so many ants. But for us, we're redoing the traffic and making our way back to the hotel. Tuesday morning, and just time to join Claire and Caroline for a quick visit to the Botanical Gardens. Abby managed to negotiate a good price with a taxi driver who took us there over the Howrah Bridge to the other side of town. Once inside, we found that we had the place practically to ourselves. The site boasts an astonishing array of plants, ferns and cacti. However, there were very few exhibits marked and the whole place had a bit of a run-down feel to it. Nevertheless, we had an enjoyable walk and saw a few interesting birds on the way who were quite undisturbed by us. The gardens were established in 1787 by Colonel Kidd, who was an official of the East India Company. The main attraction in the gardens is the magnificent banyan tree, which is claimed to be the largest in the world and is said to be more than 200 years old. Late afternoon, and we find ourselves preparing for our first train journey from Kolkata to Bodh Gaya. Like everywhere else, the whole place appeared to be in complete chaos, so we just followed Abby and hoped for the best. Once on board, we got settled in our allocated seats and were off. We soon made friends with a young man from Bangladesh and his mother, who he was taking to Delhi for an operation on her leg. We had great fun talking to them and were soon taking lots of photos and even received an invitation to visit them in Bangladesh. But I don't suppose we'll ever make it. A bit further down the carriage, we looked in on some of the others, who like us had polished off tea, soup, sandwiches and a not too bad veggie meal. We arrived in Bodh Gaya at 10:50 and were bussed to our hotel and a welcome bed.